Hello there. I wanted to show you something interesting today. I have a new alarm clock, and by new I mean I bought it today. It's second hand actually. I decided to give the finger to Jeff Bezos and not buy something from Amazon. And this cost me £4 whole, which is an amount of money. But I wanted to show this because this light you can see here, actually it's kind of going now because it's losing focus a bit, but I wanted to show this off because it actually projects onto walls. It has this little projector. I'll show you. Look. See that little light? That one right there. And it's just been covered up for a few seconds. I wanted to show this because it projects onto walls, and thinking about it, it is the most useless feature ever. So I don't know what the company was thinking when they put that on the clock. I really don't. That's it really. That's all I have to say about it. If you wait a second, or maybe 3 or 4 seconds, we shall begin reading, because we got some more reading to get through tonight. So, without further ado, let us begin. And welcome back. As you can see, my therapy buddies are with me right now. And I also have the book. So shall we? If you remember, we was about to start a new bit. Finding a therapist. Your first port of call should be the National Health Service. This is of course for those of you in the UK. I know most countries have an equivalent to a National Health Service, others don't. For that, I'm afraid there's not much I can say really, but I hope there is something you can do. You're entitled to receive help with bear in mind, this is mostly probably for British. This probably mostly applies to British, European, and a few other countries as well, which do have a National Health Service. Some Asian and Oceanian countries probably do as well. I don't actually know. So, but I'm going to read it in there because it's in the book, and I think most of my viewers probably are British anyway. Apart from my number one fan who is American. Or lives in America at least. Anyway, you're entitled to receive help with disabling and or distressing health and mental health problems, and the NICE guidelines specify what that help should be. It is mainly cognitive behaviour therapy of the type described in this book, and the last one I read too. Go to your general practitioner to tell them about the problems you have with OCD. This can be difficult, so maybe you might want to write a few notes in preparation for your visit. Summarise your problems at the moment, and especially how these interfere with your life. What the OCD stops you doing and how it affects other people. Perhaps showing the results of the scale on page 20. Explain that you have tried self-help, this book and other things you have tried. Some people find it useful to print out the NICE guidelines or material on websites provided by OCD UK to show their GP what they might prefer in terms of possible treatments. What happens next will depend on where you live, which can determine what services are on offer. You might be referred to a primary care therapist or a therapist working in a community mental health team or mental health unit. The best option would be a referral to a practitioner, clinical psychologist or a nurse cognitive behavioural therapist. But there are other types of therapists. We suggest that whichever type of therapist you are offered, you should find out more about them, their training and preferred way of working. Sometimes you might be offered treatment from someone who is a trainee. Don't reject this out of hand because they are inexperienced. Check out whether they are being supervised by whom, not who, but whom, and how this is being done. They are being supervised using audio or video recording if that is something you feel comfortable with, and the supervisor is experted in OCD and CBT then it is worth considering. Excuse me, my foot itches. Normally it's my head that itches. Today, my foot. If you decide to seek treatment privately, which is probably a better option for certain people in certain countries, of course, you need to be even more careful. NHS care providers are required to follow evidence-based guidelines as set out by NICE. Private practitioners are not, and this of course applies to all countries. Okay. Where most countries will have some guidelines, but not all of them will, okay? And there'll be certain practitioners who won't have to abide by those guidelines. So if you don't use your local health service and decide to go for a more, shall we say, private option, then I do suggest you do some serious research first, because there's a lot of con merchants out there, okay? And there's a lot of bad faith actors in this game as well, okay, who have their own biases, okay? There are those, okay, who deal with these things, okay, but don't actually believe it exists. And there are those you'll often find who simply wish to recruit you to their religion and or cult. I mean, the best example is one friend who comes from a country I will not mention because I don't wish to sully their name. They went to see a therapist several years ago about sleep problems and personal problems, and they paid for 5 sessions, and for each session this therapist or professional kept telling them to go to church and pray. That's it. Just go to church, pray, and do your problems. And that was a lot of money lost, my friend. And, you know, time and a bit of humiliation. I imagine there was probably a bit of humiliation as well when you try to spill your heart out and they're just saying, well, just pray, go to church, you know. It's really, there's a lot of bad people out there. Okay, and a lot of them do want to take advantage of people like us. And the sad fact is, it's very easy to do. So if you do use your non-local health service, please be careful, okay, and do your research. Okay? Now promise me that, okay? Especially you, yes, you, I know you. Okay? Promise me, okay, you'll do your research, alright? Now back to it. Okay. Sorry about this, people. With a myriad of OCD treatments available and online offers of quick fix cures for OCD, you need to be careful about what is actually on offer and whether it is worth the money you'll have to pay for it. Following news that the BBC found that even a cat is able to be registered with a regulatory body of hypnotherapists, there is a link to this story. I will check it out tomorrow. I'll show it to you now, in case I do forget to do this, but unlikely. See? That link there supposedly links to a story about a cat becoming a hypnotherapist, which should really illustrate just how easy it is for con merchants to get into this game, okay? And it's also why we need to be extra vigilant. We decided to suggest what people can do when trying to find a hypnotherapist. Sorry, a therapist, not only privately but in the NHS. The following sections offer guidance on choosing the right therapist. Advice on how to get the most out of therapy once you begin it and maintaining a therapeutic relationship when things go wrong. When choosing a therapist, especially if paying to go private, it is important to ask some relevant questions to allow you to gauge if your therapist is suitable and is qualified to be treating you. You can introduce this by saying that before committing yourself to therapy, you would like to know a bit more about the therapy and your therapist. After all, you'll do the same thing with any other expert service you retain, such as a gym coach or even a plumber. Hopefully you won't need to ask many of these questions out of the blue, but because the therapist will inform you about themselves and what they offer. If they don't, however, you should ask them which of the questions below you think important. We know that doing this can be difficult, so you might feel embarrassed about asking questions which sound challenging. So you could consider taking this book along to your therapist as a way of introducing this topic, and show him or her this page. You can say, Paul, Fiona and Victoria, who know a thing or two about treatment for OCD, strongly suggest that you do this. No therapist worth seeing will refuse to answer a few questions. This is worth remembering, okay people? Worth remembering. The questions. Number 1. What type of treatment will you be offering me? Number 2. Have you had specific training using CBT for OCD, including supervised practice? Do you still receive some supervision? Supervision, after all, is a good thing. Victoria, Paul and Fiona all receive supervision on their work. 3. How long will treatment take? The therapist should answer yes to most of the following questions. A. Have you done much treatment for OCD before? B. Will we set out a specific CBT treatment plan just for me, including a shared understanding, as opposed to the therapist using the same approach for every OCD sufferer? Okay. C. Will goals be set together rather than therapists setting the goals for you? D. Do you use techniques called graded exposure and behavioural experiments? E. Do you intend as therapy progresses to set practical exercises or homework for me and help me understand these exercises? F. Where behavioural exercises are set for homework, a really good proactive therapist will, if necessary, even come to your home or the place of the exercise to do the exercises with you. Are you able to do that if things get difficult? And lastly, G. Do you provide cognitive and behavioural treatment rather than just behavioural treatment, with the point of helping me understand how the problem works so that I can better work on it? All good points these are, okay? So remember them, okay? And although I will have trouble with this myself, okay, and I am a bit of a hypocrite for saying this, don't forget to do this, okay? And please, it's normal, it's fine. It's always good to question, within reason, of course. A good therapist will not mind you asking these questions, and in fact, any reluctance to answer these questions should in itself be enough to make you question if they are the right person for you. Another factor in searching for therapists is to check their credentials and qualifications. Don't be fooled by the fancy letters after a therapist's name. The therapist has loads of letters, it's worth checking on the web what they mean. Definitely do this, okay? There are many official sounding counselling and therapy bodies, but not all check the credentials of their members. So do your research and never be afraid to ask questions. We primarily recommend using therapists accredited with the British Association for Behavioural and Cognitive Psychotherapies, otherwise known as BABCP or BABCP, which is the lead organisation in the UK for CBT therapists, not to be confused with the BACP. Not sure what that is, but I'll find out and it'll be on the screen about now. Although there are more than 7,500 members of the BABCP, only about 1,500 are accredited. So in searching for a CBT therapist, it is important to check they are accredited members of the BABCP, or they are registered with another legally recognised body such as the Health Professions Council. Therapists need to meet strict criteria to become accredited by the BABCP. That's a lot of letters. These include being a member of a specified core profession, following minimum training standards and having a sustained commitment to the theory and practice of cognitive and behavioural therapies. This ensures that all accredited CBT therapists have achieved a high level of competence in cognitive and behavioural methods, which has also been independently verified. The BABCP is also responsible for the accreditation of all high-intensity CBT courses, which are being set up under the Government's Improving Access to Psychological Therapy Programme, IAPT. The BABCP website, the link will be in the description for this one, and I'll probably put it along because it's a shorter, and I'll show it to you now. See? Hopefully the website's not debunked now. Sure it won't be. If it does, I'm going to look like a bit of an idiot. Oh well. The website allows you to search their database of accredited therapists. Click the Find a Therapist link, which will then take you to www.cbtregisteruk.com. Again, this will be on the screen right now and in the description of this page. Hopefully, if I don't forget, that is. From there, you simply select Obsessive Compulsive Disorder in the Choose a Condition field and enter your postcode or town details. It is important to remember that even with BABCP accredited therapists, you must still probe them, perhaps with the questions we suggested above. Check that they are therapists with required knowledge and expertise to treat you. Questions to ask about qualifications. What is your professional background? Are you professionally registered with the Health Professions Council, Royal College of Psychiatrists, British Association for Behavioural and Cognitive Psychotherapy? Hint, little hint for you people, you can look up registration or accreditation for these bodies on the web. Whilst the book didn't say World Wide Web. It's that old. How long ago did you qualify? If a long time ago, how did you keep up to date with new developments? Summary. Things to look for in white therapist. Someone you can trust or believe that you can come to trust. Someone who can respect you and you can respect in the same way. Someone who is good at therapy and helping people to make changes. Someone who knows how to avoid the most serious pitfalls. Usually this means someone who is trained, preferably with experience in treating OCD. Someone who keeps up to date with new developments. All good points, people, okay? And as I said before, be very careful when picking someone, okay? And please, for the love of God, do your research, okay? If you're going to see one, do some research on them and the associations they're with, okay? Now, I know a lot of this information is only really works for the UK, but most Western developed nations and others, I suppose really could say most nations, okay, will have, apart from the lower, least developed ones anyway, that's most European nations, most North American nations, most East Asian nations, and most Oceanian nations as well, will have equivalents to what I've been talking about, alright? They will have these, okay, and there's always some equivalent you can look for in your country, okay? Now, I'm not going to be able to put all of these in the description of the page because, you know, it's just too many countries. So I'm just going to stick to the British ones for now, okay? And if anyone wants to, if anyone does know any like other ones in, say, just United States or Japan or Australia or India or any other country in the world, okay, feel free to put it in the comments, okay? And I'll leave it. And if I see one and it looks genuine, I will put it in the description. And hopefully nobody will get stung. So that's the one thing we don't want. So I'm afraid that's it for tonight because the next bit is quite long. And my throat is getting very, very dry. Despite everything and feeling better, my throat's still not quite there. But I can live with that for now. Anyway, hope you're well, I hope you're great, and I hope you are doing your research. I also hope, most importantly, that you are taking care of yourselves. Now promise me that you are taking care of yourselves, alright? Don't have to tell me in the comments or anything like that. Just promise to yourself that you are taking care. Okay? Because that's the most important thing. So until next time, I'm James. You've been listening to me read a book and talk about various topics, some related, some unrelated. So until next time, take care of yourselves and bye.